Thank you, my lord. Thank you. Will you be kind enough to tell this honorable panel your name?
I am Ahmed Ibrahim Taiwo.
What do you do for a living? What's your work?
I am a soldier.
Recall that a witness summons dated 28th of October 2020 was served on your employers, Nigerian Army.
Yes, my lord.
And confirm that that is a copy.
It is, my lord.
Thank you. My lord, the witness identifies the summons. Thank you, my lord. Will you also be kind enough to tell my lord what you know about this case? That is the Lekki toll gate incident that happened on the 18th of October 2020. Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My lord, chairman of the panel, other members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, I am Brigadier General A.I. Taiwo, the commander, 81 Military Intelligence Brigade. Pursuant to the summons...
General, my lord may be taking some of your statements down in longhand, so please just watch the bench as you give your testimony, please. Go ahead, please.
Pursuant to the summons issued to the Nigerian Army to witness, I am here today to highlight the role of the Nigerian Army during the October 2020 Lekki crisis. I shall be making a presentation using slides, and I shall offer oral explanations. At this point, you that some of the videos, images, and other materials you see on the screen are very gruesome and graphic. I thank you for your indulgence. My Lord, it is a shame that the Lagos crisis has just been reduced to an occurrence at the Lekki toll gate. Little mention, if any at all, is made of the massive destruction, property, and infrastructure before that incident and after the incident. Worse still is the fact that little mention has been made about the wanton loss of lives before this incident, especially among whose only crime was to report for duty to protect us all. My Lord, wives have been made widows. Children have become fatherless due to the actions of some hoodlums. What is even worse is that many of the families of the policemen murdered may not get closure because of the way their corpses were disposed. From the videos, you will see that indeed we seem to have lost our sensibility to humanity. The world over, it is the task of the armed forces to intervene when a situation overcomes the police and other paramilitary services. In Nigeria, let me continue standing. In Nigeria, this tax is contained in Section 217(2)(c) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Which mandates the armed forces to suppress civil insurrection and protect the territorial integrity of the nation from internal and external aggression. The occurrence starting from the 18th of October were nothing but violence and lawlessness. This brings me to my aim. Which is to highlight the role played by the Nigerian Army in the October 2020 crisis in Lagos, with a view to enabling you gain a perspective. In order to achieve this, I shall look at the background to the crisis. We shall discuss the Lekki toll gate incident. Thereafter, I shall look at the conduct of operations and the aftermath of the crisis. We shall also look at the visit by the Judicial Panel of Inquiry to the Military Hospital Lagos to ascertain casualties. And finally, look at the misinformation against the Nigerian Army. Let us start with a background to the crisis. As I earlier said, the armed forces are the last bastion of defense of the nation. And when all other security agencies are overcome, the armed forces intervene to restore normalcy. Throughout the Endsars protests, which started in early October, the Nigerian Army was not involved in the protests or did not intervene in any shape or form. This was because we had not been called out. By the 20th of October 2020, Lagos State had descended into anarchy. And the events that finally culminated in the 20th October 2020 incidents at Lekki toll gate had its remote causes in the wider SARS protests and its immediate causes in the violence and lawlessness that had engulfed Lagos State since the 18th of October. Blocked major expressways such as the Lagos, such as the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway, Ikorodu Way, and most of the major roads within Lagos, and were extorting money from innocent Nigerians, damaging property, looting, raping, and killing, all in the name of Endsars. My Lord, it was not, and I'm sure it was not the aim of the genuine Endsars protesters to foment that kind of violence or lawlessness. This I wholeheartedly believe. However, many of us have lived through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s in this country. And what thing I can tell you for a fact is that once a peaceful protest goes past 3 days, 2 or 3 days, there are hoodlums waiting in the wing to hijack. And cause mayhem because there are rich pickings to be had. This was no different. This, yes. It continued up to the 19th of October. And even I myself was caught up in one of such mobs. And I can offer you for free that the hoodlums I met at Akpongbo, Marina, Ijora, Apapa, were not the Endsars we had come to see, but simple criminals who were hiding under the auspices of Endsars to perpetuate these crimes. Things took a turn for the worse on the 20th of October. When the hoodlums began burning police stations, looting and stealing the arms and ammunition from the police station. And as if that was not enough, killing policemen in the most gruesome manner. This video, my lord, I don't know if I can get volume. Volume. There's no volume at all. My lord, if we have volume on these video clips, so you will hear some of the statements made. But I will explain. This is the Orile division under attack and hoodlums making away with arms and ammunition. You can see that young man in wearing white. He's with an ammunition box there and a rifle, probably AK-47. You look further, you can see young men, hoodlums, running away from the police station with weapons. This is a policeman being lynched. As you can see, the crowd has stuck a screwdriver or knife up his nose and are beating him mercilessly. Virtually nobody came to his aid. What they were interested in was to film. More glory was this: cannibalism. That is why I wanted you to hear this. Those who speak Yoruba will hear where they are asking for their share of the meat. Please observe closely how they are cutting this body after burning. For it to sink in, I'll play it once more. These scenes are reminiscent of the Liberian Civil War, where the fighters believe once they consume human body, they become strong, very potent. It was this state of affairs which occurred by 12 p.m. on the 20th that made the governor of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu to ask the army to intervene. And in my opinion, that was the correct thing to do, since the police had been overrun and were fighting for their life. What I have shown you, my lord, of the iceberg, as this was virtually replicated almost everywhere in Lagos, save this axis, the Ikoyi, Victoria Island, down. And it was being done in the name of Endsars. Due to the urgency of the situation, it is no wonder the governor declared a 24-hour which was supposed to start by 4 o'clock. Analyzing that further, it shows the situation was so dire and they wanted everyone off the streets. If you like, sleep in your office. If you like, stay at home if you are near your house, but just get off the streets and let us deal with hoodlums, criminals, and hooligans. After some observation, this timing was shifted to 2100 hours, that is 9 p.m. However, these timings were not communicated to the Nigerian Army. Be that as it may, the Nigerian Army deployed immediately to forestall further violence and loss of lives. This deployment, contrary to what is out there, was done throughout Lagos State upon receipt of the signal to activate Phase 4. of IS operations. IS means internal security. Phase 4 is the immediate deployment of soldiers outside the barracks to intervene. To show how dire the situation was, the fire alarm bugle call was sounded. My lord, when the fire alarm bugle is sounded, you leave everything you are doing and report to the parade ground or to the armory. To the parade ground, if it is a real fire, that's like a muster point. If it's something untoward, like what I've described, straight to the armory. Male, female soldier, cook, rifleman, everybody goes there. Troops were deployed from Badagry to Ikorodu to Ekpe, Apapa, Ikeja, Alimosho, everywhere, even the Lagos Island. To restore order and return the situation to normalcy. '65 Battalion, Nigerian Army. Operating under 81 garrison. Is in charge of the sector from the Lagos Island, all the Rena Faji, up to Victoria, Ikoyi, Victoria Island, Leki, Jakonde, Aja, Badore, Shangotedo, up to Ekpe. And deployed thus. I want to emphasize again, the deployment was all over Lagos State and not to Lekki toll gate. The rules of engagement for internal security were strictly followed. so as to give you and let us all be on the same wavelength, I shall examine the rules of engagement here. It is the duty of an officer or soldier to ensure the enforcement of law and order, in conjunction with other security agencies. Troops are duty-bound to intervene in any situation to avoid a breakdown in peace, stability, or law and order of an area where they are deployed. It is inexcusable for troops to stand aside and watch the security situation deteriorate, leading to loss of lives or damage to property without intervening. Such intervention should be based strictly on sound judgment and within the ambit of the code of conduct for internal security operation, while exhibiting good professional ethics. This comes into play when troops have been deployed. Let us look at the rules of engagement for Operation Mesa and other internal security operations we may be deployed for. One, and most importantly, the principle of minimum force and proportionality must be applied at all times. Whenever operational situation permits, every reasonable effort shall be made to control the situation through measures short of using force, including personal contact and negotiations. As we will see later, this was the modus operandi. The use of lethal force shall only be resorted to if all other means to control the situation has failed, or in the case of an unexpected attack or suspected improvised explosive device attack, in which a delay could lead to loss of lives or serious injury to personnel. Any force applied must be limited in its intensity and duration. It must also be commensurate with the level of threat posed. Force shall only be used when absolutely necessary to achieve an immediate aim. The decision to open fire shall be made only on orders and under the control of the on-scene commander. Unless there's insufficient time to obtain such order, fire can, however, be opened if the life of a soldier, any law-abiding member of the public, and or property of which is your duty to protect is in grave danger. All rules of engagements are shown on the scene. But take note, automatic fire will only be opened as a last resort. After firing has ceased, render medical assistance and record details of incidents both in writing and using audiovisual equipment, whether or not casualty has been recorded. We also have guidelines for the use of force, and this every officer or commander. A corporal is a commander. A corporal is a junior commander because he's a section commander. Must imbibe these rules of engagement. The Nigerian Army does not just operate in a vacuum. Everything is laid down. Even from the time you wake up to the time you sleep, it's all written. The guidelines are probably a rehashment of the earlier rules of engagement I gave you. But force is unjustifiable unless the immediate effect can be achieved by using it within the soldier's legal powers. These are other guidelines for the use of force on the screen. Can I go on? This brings me to the Lekki toll gate incident. As earlier mentioned, when troops were deployed, the 65 Battalion, acting under 85 Division Garrison, formed a mobile team to patrol up to Ekpe, Ibejuleki, Shongotedu, and Badore, all those areas. When they got to the toll gate, the area around the toll gate, the police was already trying to deter people who wanted to burn the Oriental Hotel on the left. And the commander on the ground met genuine Endsars protesters and some hoodlums. By the time they were reaching that area, as you see in this video, the protesters wearing light-colored, some white and things like that, came to challenge the soldiers and started pelting them with stones and bottles. You can see here, these are the hoodlums I'm talking about. You can see this. It's a pity there's no volume here. You will have, perhaps you see the muzzle flashes. You can see that? You can see they are firing in the air. And more so, firing blank ammunition. Because the commander on the ground made the determination that despite the provocation from these hoodlums, if he fired a live bullet at them, it might hit a genuine protester. Acting under the maxim that is better 1,000 guilty men go free than you make injury to one innocent person. He used the blank ammunition to disperse the crowd. This is another perspective. Please observe the soldiers when they reach this crowd. Observe the positions of their muzzle. You will notice they were all muzzle up, firing into the air. By then, the genuine Endsars protesters had sat on the floor, and after a while, the soldiers were able to push them after the toll gate. At this juncture, my lord, I think we have to fix the volume of this, because this presentation will be incomplete if we do not listen to the audio